Hello.
Hi,
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing just fine, just fine. Um, Alrighty. So before we get started, I do want to do some rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit. So first of all, we have a fun question that came in. What is your favorite kind of soup?
I really like the chicken gnocchi soup from Olive Garden. And
Oh,
when I was younger, I really liked the chicken pot pie soup.
uh, two top-notch choices. What is your favorite part about being in Chicago so far?
Um, Favorite part about being in Chicago? I don't know. I think the like crowds are really a lot more diverse than they've been before, and just younger and yeah, just diverse in all shapes and sizes. I really enjoy that.
Absolutely. What is your current favorite album slash artist that you're listening to these days?
Favorite album slash artist. I'm always listening to Control by SZA. Always.
What is the last show that you saw that wasn't Oklahoma?
The last show that I saw, well, I haven't seen Oklahoma, so um, the last show that I saw was on Broadway. What was it? Um, when did we leave again? I saw something on Broadway, but now I can't remember. Maybe Carolina Change.
Mm.
Mm.
What is the first um, acting role you were ever in, and it does not have to be professional?
It was, I think, Peddler Polly and the Story Stealer in fourth grade.
That's so exciting. Last but not least, what is your favorite dessert?
Um, I really love like key lime pie. Something like refreshing. I don't like dessert that's like too dense.
Totally, totally. Um, Alrighty, well, thank you so much for joining us today and chatting. Let's start at the very beginning. Did you always want to become an actress slash like what sparked your love for acting?
Yeah, I did. I always wanted to perform. I didn't like really have a specific, I just wanted to perform. And what sparked that was Barney, the dinosaur.
A classic, a classic. What about Barney?
I just really enjoyed that, like, you can do anything you wanted to be if you just imagined, and just the whole idea of it all. I really enjoyed that, and it really came to fruition for me, and it gave me a different perspective on life. I think from a child's lens, it's just like what you want, you can have, and so I've just led with that, and it's always worked for me.
So from Barney till now, and now you are in Oklahoma.
Mhm.
What drew you to want to audition for Oklahoma and say yes to the show?
Um, it's kind of like it's interesting because things that I like auditions just like come to me, especially like through my agency. So like it when this came, I was like, oh my gosh, because I auditioned for this. I think like 2 years ago it was one of my first auditions, like where I like waited outside and like went in and things like that. So I auditioned for the Broadway production. Of course they weren't looking for people, so I auditioned for that. And then when I got this again, I was like, oh my gosh, my main interest was really Ado Annie because I really enjoyed Can't Say No and just the role in general. And so I was excited for that. So I was excited for the opportunity. So I just was like, oh, this is cool. So I was happy that I got, a call back and they were interested in me after a year later. And, I got the role.
And now you're here, and now you're here. So fantastic. How can we best understand your character, Ado Annie, in this revival?
Hmm. My character, so like my portrayal and my performance, I think to best understand it, um, is to just listen and watch. And I think like she tells you everything you need to know about her. There was a real importance for me with this role because whenever we see or get the opportunity to see like black people in revivals or things like that, a lot of the times like those roles weren't written with us in mind. They were written with a very specific view, and I really wanted to transcend this character and like what she could mean for a black woman and what she could mean, for a black person in general, and how she exists, how I exist. And so that's my main kind of like things I want her to be.
Absolutely. We have a number of questions here relating to your character. One of them is, uh, obviously your portrayal is very different from Ali Stroker's. Wondering if you got any pointers from Sasha, who had covered the role on Broadway. You were amazing on Saturday night, they add.
Um, I didn't get to see the original Broadway show, so that was like womp womp. But I'm glad I didn't too, because now I it's a completely different, thing. Like um Allie, like I think like she gave me like advice, but not necessarily like specific things. And like Sasha has like given me advice, and I've asked her questions about like how did this work on Broadway, but not necessarily like inspiration or anything like that. I've just asked like specific questions of how something might have worked, because it's hard when like our director was with us for 4 weeks and now he's gone. So some things you realize and you're like, oh wait, he's not here. So I'll ask, somebody who was in the Broadway production.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Someone also asked, what is your favorite thing about Aduane?
The fact that she sings "Can't Say No." Mhm.
Absolutely. That is a really fun part of the show. And I think what a lot of people have noticed and mentioned in the comments in this live here and on social media in general is that you bring such a life
Mhm.
and joy to
Mhm.
this show, such a fun perspective. What type of prep did you have to do going into this show?
I don't want this to sound like crazy or anything, but I didn't really do much. Like I think it purely comes from the fact that like I love this song. And so I wanted to do this song justice, and I wanted to really tell the story. So when people talk about, my version of Can't Say No, it comes from a need of like wanting to perform, you know what I mean? And wanting to tell the story of the song and really push the message of the song and the understanding of what she's saying, getting across. And I also just really understand her as a human. Like me and Ado Annie are very similar in thought, and so I just get it. And so I think it really is beautiful because I'm getting to tell my story via
Mm,
Annie. And so I think that's why, so that's what's there, rather than like me having to do prep work or anything like that. It's just innate for me to want to sing that song.
mm, absolutely. All
Mm.
right, so you're on tour now. You've been on tour and you are going to continue on tour after you leave Chicago. What's life on tour like for you?
It's really interesting. It's really hard too. It's because of COVID and because of a lot of the weather, it's really difficult, so a lot of times I have to stay in her hotel room. So, it's really more so externally and a physical thing, more so a mental thing. So that's what I'm still trying to work out. Because back in the day when you did tours, there were so many events, there were bars, there was a lot to do, and now it's just a lot different. So I think we're in different times. So trying to navigate that. I try to make the best of it. I'm glad I have more time to kind of like focus on myself personally and just like focus on my goals and things that I want from life. And
Mhm.
I can just very focus on my personal journey, and I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. Speaking of a bit of more of your personal life, you have an organization.
Hmm.
A little bit about the Next Generation Project and
Yeah.
what that
Yeah,
and
the
what you
next project is an organization I started 2 years ago, and it provides self care and mental health resources for Black and Brown trans folk. And so we're working on, doing more for that. We always have a fund that people can request from, and then we do scholarships and things like that now. And so just working on making it bigger. And I also have another organization called the Open House Project that I'm working on, trying to assure accessibility in theater and things like that. So just working on them all, trying to do it all.
Truly trying to do it all. How do
Yeah.
you have time for this? That's crazy, but
I,
really important.
say that again.
First, how do you have the time for all of this? It's incredibly important work that
Yeah.
you are doing. What are some things that you do to take time for yourself that you enjoy doing in your free time?
I'm watching Insecure right now. I'm watching that from start to finish, so I really enjoying that. I have like some auditions I'll do, and that's really fun because getting to focus on different material. And like just running my mouth on Twitter, that's fun, and cooking and doing stuff.
Absolutely. We have a few other questions here. Besides Ado Annie in Oklahoma, what other Rodgers and Hammerstein's role would be on your bucket list?
That is in Hammerstein. I think definitely like I would love a Cinderella moment. I think like to sing like why would a fella want a girl like a girl who's really lovely. I love that. Trying to think of like other Rodgers and Hammerstein shows. Yeah, I definitely say like a stepsister from Cinderella.
Too good. Too good. I think one of the great things about Oklahoma is its diversity.
Mhm.
I would love to hear more about the incredibly diverse cast, and we do have a specific question here about what it's like playing opposite with Hennessy, another trans person, another trans.
Yeah. Um, I have a very, my activist brain and my like radical brain is very like in the diversity question, because I first I want to say like this production is more diverse than we've seen other productions of Oklahoma before, but it still is just showcasing Black people and white people because there's um, 5 Black people on the stage and 6 white people, and so you know that's there's more to the world that we live in, and so I really want us to understand what we mean by diversity. So yes, speaking on the fact that it is more Black people than we've seen in Oklahoma before this production is, that's refreshing and exciting. And being next to Hennessy is really cool, because there's not people think that there's always one of each, and so I'm really blessed because you know what I mean, like there's not always one Black woman in the show, and now we have more Black women. We have 2 other Black women in the show, and there's not always one trans person in the show. Now we have more trans person. There's people in the show, so I think that that's beautiful. I think that it's interesting too because I get more questions about me being trans than more questions about like me being me and Sasha having this relationship, because like when have we ever seen 2 Black women lead a professional production of Oklahoma? You know what I mean? And like that is important to me as well. And so it's just interesting where people want my head to be sometimes. But yeah, I mean it's all beautiful, it's all great, it's all exciting. And I love Hennessy.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We are nearing the end of our time
Yeah.
here, but why is it important for people to come out and see Oklahoma now?
Mm-hmm. Um, I don't know if I can necessarily give a why. I think I could say like I think you should see this production if you are interested in change. If you are interested in the ability to see art in a different way, in a different perspective. And I think that this is a true revival of a musical. And if you are interested in musical theater and you want to see where musical theater is headed, or you want to be the change and get inspired by it, I think that you should see this production because this production executes change in a great way.
Mm,
Mm.
that is so perfect, and I can't think of a better way to wrap this up. Sis, thank you so much for sharing your time and your talents with all of us. Be part of the change.
Yeah.
See the change at Oklahoma at the CIBC Theater until this Sunday. Seriously, you won't want to miss it. Tickets are at BroadwayInChicago.com. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, have a great week.
Yeah. Bye.